This is WFAA 570 at Communication Center in Dallas. WFAA News is next. It's 12 midnight.
WFAA Radio, your station for news.
Phil Oakley reporting. The general headquarters of the Laotian Army in the capital of Vientiane reportedly has been bombed by Laos Air Force planes from the south. Reliable reports reaching Bangkok, Thailand, tell of the rebellion among the southern-based airmen. An army camp on the outskirts of Vientiane also was reportedly bombed. And some buildings in the capital city also are said to have been machine-gunned during an air battle between the rebel pilots and airmen loyal to the military command.
Guess what corporation is almost 200 years old, is working to put a man on the moon, and offers shares to every American? Why, the United States itself. You can buy shares in America with savings bonds. U.S. savings bonds help our corporation run its projects, and it can't run them without you. Buy bonds where you work or where you bank.
President Johnson and Prime Minister Harold Holt have issued a joint statement to Australia's capital city of Canberra. The two leaders say the Allied position in Vietnam precludes any hope of a military victory for the communists, but they say it will be necessary to maintain that position until a satisfactory settlement can be arranged. The joint statement also looked ahead to the seven-nation Allied Summit Conference in Manila next week. It said that, in the light of the improved military outlook, items connected with peaceful economic and social development will be examined in some detail. In a nationally broadcast and televised speech to Australia's Parliament, President Johnson said, "I believe there is a light at the end of what has been a long and lonely tunnel." He said he sees success ahead in Vietnam, mainly because other nations have joined in a common effort to stem aggression. Bill Crook, the regional director for the Federal Office of Economic Opportunity, spoke in Fort Worth Thursday night, saying that the completion of the 1964 Act, which inaugurated the war on poverty, could put the lies of Marxism to rest once and for all. He was speaking before a Business Week banquet at TCU. Japan's big leftist labor federation failed to whip up widespread support for a nationwide general strike called by it to protest U.S. intervention in Vietnam. Many unions restricted their actions accordingly to largely token protests. The Royal Lane exit of the Stemmons Freeway was the scene of a fatal accident Thursday night. Theodore C. Hewins was struck and killed as he ran across the expressway at that point. The 60-year-old man was listed as a Carrollton resident. His death upped the Dallas traffic death toll to 109. 10 men aboard a B-52 Air Force jet spent 8 worry-filled hours Thursday over Carswell Air Force Base. The men were wondering whether they would survive an emergency landing that became necessary when a portion of the plane's wings separated on takeoff. The purpose of the 8 hours spent flying over the base was to use up some of the craft's highly flammable fuel. The landing was safe. An 81-year-old woman was found dead in Cincinnati during the night, apparently the 5th victim of a strangler who has terrorized the city since last December. Authorities said the manner of the woman's death exactly duplicated that of previous victims. Oakland, California was reported quiet Thursday night after 3 days of racial disorders marked by numerous incidents of vandalism. As heavy police patrols blanketed sensitive areas, troublemakers were warned that no lenience will be shown criminal violators. City officials remained in disagreement, meanwhile, over whether a school boycott had caused the racial trouble. 20 Dallas housewives began a protest against high food prices Thursday. They marched in front of a northeast Dallas supermarket to emphasize their belief that food prices are too high. They say that the protest will continue today and every day until their demands are met. A spokesman for the supermarket chain replied by saying that the women were being unfair. He said the profits in his industry are already too low and that it would be impossible to reduce prices further. Texas's battle for the U.S. Senate seat continued in mounting drives today with an exchange of charges over the use of outside help. Attorney General Wagner Carr, the Democratic nominee, appeared in Abilene, renewing his charge that U.S. Senator John Tower was receiving financial aid from out-of-state sources. Carr offered national magazines as proof. Republican Tower told a Dallas audience that Carr had imported high-powered political figures to salvage a losing campaign. The weather outlook for Dallas and Fort Worth, fair this morning with a low in the middle 40s. Fair and warmer today and tonight, partly cloudy and turning cooler tomorrow. Today's high in the upper 70s. The overnight low tonight in the mid-50s. Wind southerly 10 to 15 miles per hour. Fair skies in Dallas, clear skies in Fort Worth. The temperature in Fort Worth is 50 degrees. In Dallas, it's 53. That's the news. Phil Oakley reporting.
WFAA Radio, your station for news.
Phil Oakley reporting. A light plane crashed into Lake Buchanan tonight in central Texas. With the story, here is Al Hemingway in Austin.
A light plane plunged today into the east side of Lake Buchanan near the central Texas city of Burnett. The Department of Public Safety says no bodies have been discovered, but several briefcases were found floating on the water. The plane crashed in about 50 feet of water. The DPS says it is checking the area around the lake, but says because of the darkness and the lake's depth, it will probably be tomorrow before divers can search for any bodies. 2 fishermen reported seeing the crash to owners of the Thunderbird Lodge on Lake Buchanan. This is Al Hemingway reporting from Austin.
The many sciences involved in combating hemophilia are all working hard to make a happy and productive life for every adult and child with bleeder's disease. You can do your share too by volunteering a little bit of your time to the March of the Life Brigade of the Dallas chapter of the National Hemophilia Foundation. Call Taylor 35551.
Another plane piloted by a colonel in the Confederate Air Force made a safe emergency landing in Harlingen tonight. On board that DC-3 were all 6 members of the Air Force Precision Flying Team, the Thunderbirds. No one was injured in the emergency landing. Trouble developed shortly after takeoff when a rudder trim broke off. The Thunderbirds had done a show earlier in Harlingen. A 2-alarm fire at the Tyler Street Methodist Church was quickly extinguished by Dallas firemen this afternoon. WFAA Radio News asked Dan Ewing, the public information officer for the fire department, how the blaze started.
We have investigators working on it right now, and of course it's up to them to decide. We're certain that it did start in the choir loft, and it was pretty well contained to the choir loft, but just exactly how, we don't know at this time.
Preliminary damage was estimated at $21,000 by fire officials on the scene. A jury convicted Byron L. McClellan, Jr. of maiming this past March 30th in Denton in connection with the hazing of a North Texas State University student whose eye was lost during the alleged attack. Today, attorneys for the youngster said that they had learned the indictment returned against McClellan was faulty. District Judge W.C. Boyd says that he would grant a motion for a new trial, saying that he will also throw out the indictment at the proper time. McClellan was given a 7-year probated sentence for the incident. A supermarket in the 4600 block of Hatcher was held up tonight by a lone gunman. He escaped with about $150 and was last seen fleeing on foot. Housewives in Arlington say that they will not boycott food stores in the area for the time being. Instead, they're sending a petition to Fort Worth Congressman Jim Wright to see if he will get Congress to hold an investigation to examine the costs of food. The ladies have not ruled out the possibility of a boycott, but they say they would rather not call a boycott because they feel that it would only hurt the smaller stores. Their prime targets seem to be the large chain supermarkets. A large crowd enjoyed the last day of the state fair. The president of the extravaganza, Robert B. Cullum, had these comments for WFAA Radio News.
I'm intensely proud of the job that everybody connected with the fair has done this year. Joe Rucker and his staff have worked hard and done, I think, a magnificent job. And the public has, I think, accepted the fair, just taken it by storm, and they've had more fun and more enthusiasm this year than I ever remember. I feel like it's been a darn good fair, the best I ever saw.
Just 2 weeks from now, voters in Texas will decide who represents them in the Senate for the next 6 years. John Tower, the incumbent, is in Austin, and he'll be coming to Dallas tomorrow for a tour of numerous points around the city. Wagoner Carr's in Galveston and will campaign in 4 cities tomorrow. The Dallas City Health Director, Dr. Hal Jewlett, has revealed that approximately 1,280 tons of unburned carbon are released into the air daily from the exhaust of Dallas County motor vehicles. His figures were the result of air pollution studies conducted in Dallas last November by the Texas Health Department. According to Jewlett, the most air pollution comes from the exhausts of autos. The Clean Air Act, passed last year by Congress, requires that all 1968 model cars adopt new devices to assure more complete burning of fuel. Seasonable temperatures and fair skies cover most of Texas today, and more of the same is predicted for tomorrow. Temperatures at 4 p.m. were generally in the 70s. Readings ranged from 57 degrees at Texarkana to 86 degrees at Del Rio and Laredo. Winds are gusty from a northerly direction in the Panhandle, but are light and variable elsewhere. Considerable fog and low clouds are forecast for along the coast tonight. The weather forecast for Dallas and Fort Worth now. Fair Monday through Tuesday, slightly cooler Monday night. High both afternoons in the middle 70s, lowest Monday night in the lower 40s. Winds light and northerly. Cloudy skies in both Dallas and Fort Worth at the current time. In Fort Worth, it's 62 degrees. In Dallas, it's 60 degrees. That's WFAA Radio News. Phil Oakley reporting.
You're tuned to WFAA 820 at Communication Center in Dallas. In Dallas, it's 10 o'clock.
Now here again is Dean Mell.
There has been a military plane crash in West Texas. A report from Phil Oakley of station WFAA in Dallas.
A huge Air Force C-130 Hercules transport crashed Wednesday night approximately 75 miles northeast of Abilene, Texas. The plane, which was attached to the 516th Troop Carrier Wing at Dyess Air Force Base near Abilene, went down around 9:50 p.m. Central Standard Time. The plane is capable of carrying 200 persons. The Air Force said that they did not know definitely how many persons were on board the plane when it went down. It has been confirmed, however, that one man was admitted to a nearby hospital in critical condition. An unofficial report from the Air Force says that possibly 6 persons were on board. It's not known whether or not anyone was killed in the crash. A convoy of Air Force investigators, sheriff's officers, and state highway patrolmen is en route to the scene. This is Phil Oakley in Dallas for NBC News.